It's really, really wonderful. There was a guy who went shopping, was on the grocery line, and the cashier there is helping him packing his bag into a big paper bag, and it must have been a very heavy load and a big shopping experience because in front of everybody, the bag rips, and the cans and the tomatoes and everything falls all over the floor. And the cashier's like, oops, they don't make bags the way they used to. That was supposed to happen in your driveway. You're finishing a year of working in high school with teenage girls. And it's very, very, very common in the chinuch world and around Shabbos tables and wherever we are for people to say they don't make girls the way they used to. Every 5 years there's a change. Every 2 years there's a change. And technology changes. And the truth is, there are a lot of changes. The question is, with all of the changes, how can we be effective in our education? How can we bridge that gap and bring the timeless values that we have to these teens that they just don't make the same anymore? So I want to look at Shavuos. In Shavuos, right, oh, that's so cute. When Hashem was giving the Torah to the Yidden, he asked for a guarantor. And we all know they first offered that the elderly people should be the guarantors, right? After you retire, there will be a robust kailel of men and women, I'm sure, sitting and learning. That will be the guarantor. And Hashem said, no. Old people, they themselves need guarantors. Not happening. And then they offered the scholars, the Nevi'im, the people in chinuch. The people in chinuch are always going to be teaching. You could trust them. And Hashem said, they're sometimes pretty disappointing too, I tell you. It's not going to work. And then when the Yidden finally gave the children as the guarantors, Hashem accepted it. These teens that we question. And there's a lot of things that we have a hard time with as teenagers, with the kids. And I want to focus on two. And you might wonder, why is this an effective guarantee for anything? One thing that kids have, from 3 until teenagers, is that they very much are not thinking long-term, or the long-term effects of their behaviors, right? My 3-year-old is not thinking the fact that I have to clean up. He is having a blast right now, smearing whatever drink or he could find all over the floor. He's just in the moment. Everything, whether it was 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago or last year, was all yesterday. Everything in the future, whether it's in 10 years or in 2 months or this summer, is all tomorrow. I mean, kids have this tiny, tiny, tiny vision of time. And sometimes our teens also do. They do things and we're just like, what are they thinking? How could they post such a picture on their social media? Don't they realize the fact it could happen to seminary and shidduchim? And the answer is no, they're not thinking long term. So youth and children have this seemingly negative, frustrating ability to literally just be in the moment and think about having fun in the moment and not think about any repercussions, past, future, it just doesn't exist. Another thing that we can get very frustrated about our kids and our teens is that they're literally so self-centered. I mean, they don't think. They could be so insensitive, right? You could stay up a whole night preparing a lesson and working so hard and being so kind to them and going out of your way and you're giving your neshama and your heart and soul to them, and you walk in and there's no thank you, we love that lesson. Maybe there is sometimes. But most often, they're literally engrossed in their own head, in their conversation that they have to have with their friend, in their little plans that they have to do after school or whatever issue is bothering them. They're not thinking of you. They're not even thinking enough about their friends. So we have children with these seemingly negative traits, and we're like, these are going to be the guarantors. This is who we're relying on, Tyra, these people who are so narrow-minded and so self-centered, and maybe we should give it to the mature people at the table. Why are we placing something so big into the hands of such immaturity? Now, there is a sikha that I absolutely adore, and probably if you've heard me speak or share on the topic, you've heard me say it. because it's something that I constantly am working on both with my children and in school and with the girls. And the more I work on it and internalize it, the more I see it has the effect. And it's a sikh on Parshas Kairach where the Rebbe asks, why do we name an entire parsha after Kairach? Kairach is a Rasha. And when you look at the wording that the Rebbe uses, it's unbelievable. The Rebbe says, we name an entire parsha after Kairach because it's true, he did something terrible. He rebelled. But we're going to find the kernel of good now. We're going to find something positive in the seemingly negative. What's the positive in the seemingly negative? The positive in the seemingly negative is, look, Kairach wants to be a Kohen Gadol. That's a holy desire. Many of other people just think about their own careers. They just want to make money. He had a positive desire. It came out negative. It came out power hungry. But finding the positive quality, not in the future. Sometimes we're like, oh, let's think long term. Let's think how my kid, who might be so bossy now or so, have a negative trait now, in the future, how they could channel it. And the Rebbe says, no. You want to impact these children? Find the positive quality in what they're doing now. So back to the guarantors. Let's see if you can figure this out together. What could be positive about not thinking about long-term repercussions? About being present?
Living at the moment.
Living in the moment. Not procrastinating. Not thinking, oh, I could learn, I could be a yid, I could do that in 20 years. Let me do it now. Teens have an unbelievable ability to get things done right now. And that could be channeled right now without having to search deeply for it. Their inability to think about the future actually is something that mature people sometimes could be missing. Okay, whatever. There's no fire burning. And what about the thinking about themselves? How could that be positive in the moment?
And they don't even
No, seriously. A lot of times, people get very comfortable someone else is going to do it. Teens have an ability to be like, wait, you're serious? I'll do it. We'll do it. This ability to not think about everyone else it's not even just channeled in the future. I don't think anyone else is going to do it. I'm the only one that exists, so I guess, B'sholi Nivra Ayla. And we have to realize that, again, if Hashem gave the children and wanted children to be the guarantors, then we have to learn from them. We have to say, one second, in what we perceive as something negative, where could we find that positive quality and make it bigger, and make it bigger, and make it bigger? Because adults, it takes a lot more to shake up. It takes a lot more. It takes a lot of money and a lot of advertising and a huge campaign to get people to realize to wake up to do something. Otherwise, I'm joking. I'm speaking about the recent chinuch campaign. The school sent emails to everyone to sign an email that, against the chinuch of the government. Barely anyone moved. When you put together a campaign and ads and you have meetings and you get people together and you make a whole ta-da-da-da-da-da, finally we could shake people up. But what do we learn from the youth? And again, I'm sure there's many more. These are just two examples. But rather than focus on the teens today and thinking of they would have never gotten away with it a few years ago. Do you know when we were in school, when the principal said something, we listened, right? So flipping the perspective to how when we were in school too, if I'm going to have an impact on their chinuch, I need to find the positive quality now. Here's another thing. When it comes to impacting them. There's once a husband and a wife who marched into a dentist's office, and the wife says to the dentist, listen here, I need a tooth pulled, no time for numbing, just get the tooth out, we're on vacation, I don't have extra time for this, just get this tooth out. The dentist is like, wow. The dentist is like, you are so courageous. Which tooth do you need pulled out? And she says to her husband, let's go, show him which tooth it is. It's very easy to not feel the pain of someone else's tooth that has to get pulled. We're in the business of chinuch. We're not in the business of just teaching a pasuk of Chumash and Rashi. we're trying to educate them. And when we're trying to encourage the girls to change, for many of them, it's like getting a tooth being pulled. We hold on to our negative qualities like a comfortable blanket. It's very painful to change. So when we're teaching them and we're expecting them, whether it's in clothing, it's in personality, whatever it is that we're teaching them to grow in and change, because that's what our mindset is all about, I need to develop that sensitivity to how hard it is. It's them. There was a girl who once wrote into the Rebbe that she was unsure about which school she should go to. It was a school that was academically on a much higher level, and then there was a school that focused more on working on your midas, or what we call in today's vernacular, social emotional curriculums. Which one is more important? And what did the Rebbe say? The Rebbe said, go to the school that will help you primarily in the development of being a human and a Jew. That really, in the end of the day, has always been the focus of our education. So if we walk into the classroom, if we build a connection so that they should change, we have to be aware of what that change entails and be sensitive to it. And we'll take it a step further. It's not just be aware and be sensitive to it. I find that a lot of times we almost other the challenges that the teens are going through. There's like this us and them. We didn't struggle with these type of things. They're struggling with it. It's very subtle and it's very subconscious. And we do it all the time because really, externally, there is some truth. We didn't have the same challenges. Because when I was in school, everyone wore long, sweeping the floor skirts, not mini skirts. But if we want to be able to influence and impact them properly, we have to be able to experience it. When you look at the details of the story of the Mittler Rebbe, it's like beautiful. We hear the one-liner, the Mittler Rebbe really related to the Chassid, but really what happened? The Mittler Rebbe was visiting a town, and in the town, he was taking Yidden in for Yechidah, and a Yid comes into him, and he stops the Yechidas. And he stops it for the whole long line outside. And he's crying, and he's crying, and he's crying. And the Hasidim right outside hear the Mittler Rebbe crying, so they say something for sure must be wrong. They all take out their Tehillim. Can you imagine the commotion that's happening right outside the Mittler Rebbe's Yechidus room? And everyone's saying Tehillim, and the Mittler Rebbe was weak. He couldn't even have a mincha, and it took until 2 days until the Mittler Rebbe was able to get back to Yechidus. And when the Chassid asked him, what happened? What did he say? He says, when someone comes to me with a problem in Yechidus, I need to find something in me to relate. I need to have done this birur, this tikkun inside myself on a fine level in order to help them. When this person came to me and I realized how low he fell, I couldn't find him. I just couldn't relate to the nature of this challenge. And so I decided to just do tshuva from the bottom of my heart. It must be something subconscious, and that was the tshuva that I did, and how much effort it took for me. We're expecting the teens to do so much, and the question is, are we satisfied with our status quo? It's not just relating to them. They have an issue with, relationships. Do I struggle with that? If they have an issue with saying the truth, do I struggle with that? It's how much effort am I putting? I find 100%. The more I'm working on myself in an honest and a real way, automatically the more girls are drawn to hear what I have to say. And I don't even teach in an official capacity. I do extracurricular. There's a magnetic energy. I can't explain it, but it's a neshama energy. They feel it. So it's relating. It's taking away the shock factor of today's generation. There's no shock and there's no fear. We're not afraid of anything that they're going through. There's nothing to be afraid of. I remember hearing a fellow friend or a teacher who was commenting on the tznius of today's generation, and then literally a few days later, I heard her sharing something that she does, which as far as I know is completely not in line with what we do, and I'm like, you can't make the connection. I didn't even feel comfortable telling it to her, but in my head, I was like, this is a mirror to me. We have to be able to make the connection. If we want to impact them, so much of it has nothing to do with the words we tell them, and so much to do with our relatability, to our active, literally effort, excruciating effort, because what it would take them to not put on that short skirt, what it would take them to work on their relationship with their mother, what it would take them to not use their phone in inappropriate ways or at inappropriate times or with inappropriate people, or even in a higher level, adding in learning or adding in growth or adding in chita, sefer mitzvahs, Rambam, wherever they are, sormi ra asay type, how much effort are we putting into it? For us, we decided the life that we have. This is our life, this is who we are. Obviously, I want to be a Hasidic person, but the effort, that's the story of the Mitzvah Rebbe. It's not just finding it and relating to it. How consistently and how systematically am I working on myself? And again, it's like the proof is in the pudding. You see that the girls are drawn to MS. You see that the girls are drawn to the people that are working on themselves. You see, it's not always even about who's the best teacher and who has the best lessons. Again, that's important on an academic level. But in a midas tivus level, the connection is formed. The girls see that you're a person who works on yourself. It's so evident. There were a few students who once came to the Rebbe, and one student asked the Rebbe, "Can I ask you a question?" The Rebbe said, "Yes." And the student said, "Rebbe, how is it that you can give advice in law, you can give advice in medicine? Like, do you know law better than a lawyer? Do you know medicine better than a doctor?" And the Rebbe answered him, imagine a house is about to be built and an architect draws a blueprint. And then the architect hands it over to the contractor. The contractor gives instructions to the plumber. The contractor gives instructions to the electrician. Does that mean he knows plumbing? Does that mean he knows electricity? He's reading a blueprint. The Rebbe said to this student, it's not that I know law more than a lawyer or medicine more than a doctor. Okay. What I know is how to read the blueprint, how to read the Torah. And this is really the question, if you don't mind speaking in passive. And this is really the question that we're asking ourselves before Shavuos, when we're wrapping up a year. Obviously, here, take it in half. Obviously, we're not a Rebbe, and obviously, we're not going to be able to read the blueprint in the exact way. But the question is, do our students see from us? Do our students see from us that that's the way we live? That every single aspect of our life is based on this blueprint. So here's what I'd love us to do. If you can make a list, a couple lists. Hi, well done. You can write down on your paper who are the most important people in your life right now. Just whatever comes to your head, quickly. Most important people in your life. Bring another paper. Most important people in your life. After that, if you can write the most important challenges facing you right now with these most important people in your life. What's bothering you? What's on your heart? What are you working through right now? In short, one word. A challenge, a struggle. I know at night I'm talking to my husband, I go through the day with the kids, this kid this and this kid that, and this one with friends and this one with that, and and there's the things that are going on, the friends, the work. Here everybody gets along with each other and with that's not a challenge, but what is something that's really, really challenging you right now in a way that you you feel like you need help. You feel like you need advice. You feel like, what should I do? How do people do this? And then what I want to ask you, and you could start filling it in now or keep this to think of, because I went through this exactly myself. I'm currently working on this. In each of these people and in each of the situations, how is Torah guiding me? What is a concept in Hasidus that is guiding me? Where is a book that I could pick up? A sefer, a sicha, a mimer. And this is what I'm talking about. Because we all have human problems. The question is, are we living with Torah to the extent that it's impacting our human problems? Are we bridging the gap? Because if we want to influence the girls, it's not just about seeing the good in them, it's about being that role model for them. If I don't process this, how could I expect them to process it? If I don't make the connect between what I'm teaching in Limudei Kodesh to life, how do we expect them to? It's not just thinking about good examples, right? Think of a good example how Hechaltzu will help you with Ahavas Yisrael for their life. Me, in my life. Am I going to sleep with a mimer and waking up with a mimer that is relevant to something that I'm struggling? And by the way, this doesn't mean we can't ask other people for help. It doesn't mean that we don't need to speak to other people, get other advice from different fields. That's not what this is about. What this is about is, am I living with Torah? If I'm walking down the street and someone stops me, do I have something I'm living with? Did I learn it again and again and again? That's the effort that we're talking about. That's what it means we're trying to be like the Mitzvah Rebbe. We're trying to find something inside of ourselves. We're working through a challenge, whether it's in anything, in chinuch, in shidduchim, in shalom bayis, in any challenge that we're going through. How is Torah informing me? Which concept? What did I learn? That's not just a shir, that's not just a dvar Torah, that's my life. And I invite you to think about this. For bringing, accepting Shavuos, accepting Matan Torah. What is Matan Torah? The marriage of Gashmis and Ruchnius. El Yainim Yardu L'Tachtainim. A lot of times we get I know for myself sometimes, there's a certain cynicism that sets in, I'm not like a spiritual Baal Tshuva from Tzfas. I don't know. We tend to do that. And the truth is, when I listen to the spiritual Baal Tshuva from Tzfas, we just had a Beisark alumni event last night, and Chana Margolis spoke, and I'm like, oh, actually I need to hear this. It's not as spiritual as we like to make it sound. It's physical. Our Gashmi selves needs to feel that connection and excitement with Torah. Our Gashmi itself needs to feel the inspiration, needs to feel that Shavuos is not just cheesecake, even though we love cheesecake, and flowers, even though we love flowers. What's it doing for me in my kishkas? In 1965, the Rebbe sent somebody, I believe his name is Rabbi Nachman Bernhard, but I might get the name wrong, to South Africa to open a school. Yeah, was that a nod? And he said to the Rebbe, he said, how can I open a school? How could I do this? What about my own kids? And the Rebbe quoted a pasuk to him from Shir Hashirim, which basically talks about neglecting your own vineyard. And so what he said to the Rebbe is, you're proving my point. How could I neglect my children? How could I neglect my own vineyard? My own karmi? And the Rebbe's response was, what do you mean? How do you know that every single child that's in South Africa is part of your vineyard? How do you know that that would be considered neglect? You started the school?
Probably not.
You probably started the school. In other words, our girls and our students are our children. They are our vineyard. They are us. They're ours. And I will try and encourage us all to work on, instead of going in the direction of they don't make teens the way they used to, channeling that into, wow, the teens have something positive right now that we can find and magnify. I have something special and precious that I could work on. I can relate to. I'm not othering them. I'm able to impact them because I am working on myself. And this is real, and Torah is real. And when I look at them, I think of them like my daughter, my child, and all the dreams that I want to see in the future and now. And when we look at these girls like that, and we look at them as our precious children, you know, I'll give credit to Mrs. Feldman, because in the B'nos High School teachers room, I remember somebody once saying something, and she's like, no, these are the Rebbe's kids, you can't talk this way. You can't talk this way. So when we together speak about the beautiful milas and bring it out of the Rebbe's children, may we be zeicha that they really should teach us the ultimate MS, really show us the ultimate MS, and may we be zeicha that the entire world will really be greeted to the ultimate Matan Torah Shavuos experience, where everybody has Hashem openly in a revealed way with Mashiach now. So thank you, and wishing you a lot of hatzlacha on your continued work of chinuch and this shlachas. Thank you.